Thanks for tuning in, Slingin Dirt Media. I'm DJ Smollett in the shop with Mike Hildebrand. Mike, thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for coming out.
Absolutely.
Finally
Man, this thing looking pretty good here.
Thank you. It's amazing how they look at the beginning of the year.
You know, when you shine them up at the beginning of the season, they look like showpieces, don't they?
Yeah, we're thinking about switching to show cars this year. We're going to try our hand at that.
I don't recommend it, but okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did you get started in racing?
It's kind of a funny story. So,
We love them.
yeah, we were racing Corvettes,
Okay.
road racing.
Road racing.
And I'm at my office for a closing, and Ken Martin, who raced,
Yeah.
they were doing the closing.
Okay.
Priority national title.
Nice.
And in walks UPS with 4 new Hoosiers.
Okay.
He all of a sudden, hey, who's the race car driver? Who is that? Blah, blah, blah. I said, that's me. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm into race cars too. And I said, what do you have? He said, I got a dirt late model. And growing up, my brother actually raced bombers, got me into it years ago, but it doesn't count. We were terrible. We knew nothing.
It doesn't count? What do you mean doesn't count?
That was 30 years ago. We were terrible.
Oh, it totally counts.
No, it doesn't count. So, but we always liked the late models.
Oh, okay.
So he said he had a late model. I said, man, I got to see it. So I think I went to his house that night.
Okay.
And I bought it from him the next day.
Now that's a story.
Yeah. So I tell people when I introduce him, I say, this is the man that ruined my life.
Yeah.
Retirement got pushed back.
Thanks a lot, Ken.
Yeah, my kids might never go to college now. I mean, all thanks to Ken Martin. He ruined my life. So Ken hadn't been in the game for a minute.
Okay.
The car was basically fresh, but had been sitting for years.
Okay.
He thought he was selling me a very good car. He might as well sold me a Volkswagen.
Okay. Yeah.
It was an old swing arm.
Rayburn.
It wasn't a Rayburn.
Not
but
a Rayburn.
It was a knockoff. It was a.
Okay.
I forget the guy's name, but it was a knockoff. So I went out and drove it, and I wasn't terrible. My first couple races, I was mid-pack. For first.
So this was better than the bomber days.
Oh, the bomber days, yeah, we were terrible. The bombers were fun. We didn't have any money. We didn't have any knowledge. We didn't have any clue, but we were having a blast.
You're having fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Isn't that the whole goal?
It is, and it is still to the day.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people lose that because things start getting so expensive, but the goal is have fun.
He and I talk so my son is in the background. You guys can't see him. He's cutting tires right now, but he is probably the biggest reason I still race.
Okay.
It's our time together. It's our thing. When my dad was around, it was the three of ours thing. That's part of why I did it. And we always said the day that we start working too hard or we're not having fun, we're getting rid of this thing and we're going to go do something different.
Right. So
he reminds me from time to time to keep having fun. We're all competitive, right?
Yeah.
I'm 7 years into this. I haven't won a feature. I should have. I thought I was going to win a feature my first year, right? Had no idea how good people are around here. I mean, the guys that I race against on a week-to-week basis are.
We got some talented drivers around this area.
Yeah.
And when we say this area, we're talking Florence, Moeller, Tomic, Portsmouth.
Yeah. Yeah, Brownstown.
Yeah.
Every track you show up here, we went to Mudlick last year.
Okay. Yeah.
And guys joked and said, "Oh, are you going to go down and cherry pick?" And I said, "Well, you're talking to a guy that's never won." I said, "No, I'm not going anywhere to cherry
pick a B main, maybe.
Yeah. And we went down there, and the guys.
Yeah.
We ran decent, but the guys that were around me were all really fast there. I was impressed. So it doesn't matter where you go; they're fast. So.
These things are fast, and people don't realize. Again, not only is it so much time and work in them that people don't realize, but it's like, man, when you got one of these things, you're fast. Even the slow guys are still fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to put it, but even the slow guys are still
Everybody's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that first car, we go out racing a couple of times, and of course, it blew up the first day I took it out.
Oh, okay. That's always nice too.
Yeah.
Nice way to start.
Pulled the engine, got it built because Ken told me he didn't think about it. I didn't realize that motor had sat for like 5 years. It was fresh.
Yeah.
It sat. So we fixed it, went driving, and a couple guys said, "Hey, Dale McDowell Driving School. You ought to reach out to him, go see him. It'll leapfrog your start."
Yeah.
So I call him, talk about, he is 100% class act. If I had somebody I could pick to come and be my best friend, he'd be one of them, right?
Okay.
So we go down there, and I'm driving, and he actually said, you actually look pretty good. For a guy that just got this car, he said, but I need you to drive in harder. You got to go drive in farther. You got to do this. And he's on the receiver.
Sure. Do
this, do this, do this. And I couldn't. The car would not do what he's telling me to do.
Oh, okay.
So he's like, pull back in the infield. I come in, he's like, get out. Let me drive this thing. He said, I'll show you where I want you to go. So he goes out and he drives it, and he came back in. He said, you're right. It won't do what I want it to do.
We found the problem.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily you.
I was part of the problem.
Okay.
I just wasn't as much of it as he thought.
Yeah.
So he said, you should really look into getting a different race car. He let me drive a black front rocket he had. I could have texted. I could have driven around the track like this. Driving
really?
The car. It was so easy.
Yeah.
So I came home that week, and I found a black front rocket. Went and bought it.
Change approved.
Yeah. Bought it from actually one of my close friends now. The guy's name's John Mollick. He's from Toronto, Ohio.
All right.
I talk to him pretty close to every day.
Yeah.
He's kind of a John Whitney. He's a John Whitney 3 hours east.
Yeah.
Super smart guy. Everything he gets in, he wins. Right now, he's got a... What's he got right now, Alex? A crate car and a sprint car, I think. He wins in both.
Yeah.
He got a big buck modified. Guess what?
Oh, he won?
He won.
Okay. So the guy's talented, and he's got some intelligence and knows what to do with it.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good recipe.
It is. So when I had the black front, he helped me a ton from out there,
Right.
I switched to a blue front the following year because a black front was old technology, right?
Right.
I built the blue front.
Okay.
So anybody watching, don't hire a realtor to build a race car.
To build a race car.
Yeah. Now I've turned wrenches my whole life. I was a mechanic full time at one point.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I can do it.
Right.
But John Mollick says this. You don't know what you don't know.
I say it a lot.
Yeah, and I had Rocket's book, but it tells you 80%. 20% didn't tell me. I got a pretty good portion of that wrong.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to him, telling him what the car is doing. He says, do you want me to drive it? I said, I'd love to. He said, I'll come down and I'll race it at Moeller one night.
Okay.
So he goes out and he hot laps. And I did everything for him, right? I set it up just like I would me. I didn't sabotage him.
Right.
He goes out and hot laps. He comes in. I said, what do you want to change? He said, don't change anything. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, that thing is what I would call a loaded weapon. I said, what do you mean? He said, I've never driven a car that bad. He said, I don't know what you did wrong. But
oh, no.
He said, you don't know what that thing's going to do when you go into the turn.
So don't change anything.
He said, it won't make a point. He said, you build it. What are you going to change to make it better?
Okay. Yeah, I get the terminology there.
So he goes out in the heat race, comes back in. I said, what do you want me to change? He said, don't bother.
Yeah.
He said, I'm just going to try to drive it. He said, I don't know what to tell you to change. I don't know what.
You don't know what it's going to do.
He said, I've never driven a car that was so bad getting to the turn.
Wow. Okay.
So.
Wow.
So in comes John Whitney that week.
Okay.
I called John. I said, can you please help me? So John comes. Turns out I had the tie rods in the wrong. I had them below the spindle or above the spindle. I had it backwards.
Whichever way. It was, yeah.
This thing would, well, not this, but that car would toe in 1.5 inches as you went into the turn.
Really?
It was just, I just had stuff wrong. I didn't know any better.
Yeah. You don't know what you don't know. And I'm guilty of I'm going to dive in and I'm going to try it, whether I know what I'm doing or not, but I'm not afraid to try.
Exactly.
Good.
And honestly, I didn't think I was bad in it.
Right.
I was better than I had been in the black front and way better than in the swing arm car. So John set that thing up. I came out the next week, and I almost looked like a race car driver.
Oh, almost.
I was close. John pulls me aside. So I lucked out. A fly in the middle of winter.
Yeah, it's all right.
I lucked out. That was right as the time John had rolled his car at Moeller.
Yes.
He was off for a little bit.
Yeah.
He helped me a ton.
Okay.
He would come to the track and help me. So you got to remember, I didn't race any dirt cars before
other than the bombers, which you said don't count.
Don't count.
Okay.
My bomber was so bad that we didn't even have a spool in it. It had a posi, and the posi didn't work. So I had one wheel spinning most of the time. We were terrible.
What kind of car was that? Do you remember?
It was a conglomeration between a Malibu and a Camaro. It was a Camaro sitting on a Malibu frame. We didn't know anything. I'm telling you, it was bad.
But it was fun.
It was fun. We had a blast. I mean, the van we pulled it with had a bad headlight switch. And we raced at Union County out in Indiana.
Yeah.
You'd be driving along, and you leave Union County at 1, 2 in the morning. It's dark.
It's dark, real dark.
Driving along, all the lights go out. And it's funny because I had 2 high school buddies. I was in high school when we were doing that. I had 2 high school buddies. It was a Friday night race, and my dad couldn't go. Well, the first week he goes, he's sitting in the passenger seat. We didn't have back seats, so my buddies...
The headlights go out.
Well, my buddies sat on 5-gallon buckets.
Oh, this is safe.
So we're driving along, the headlights go out. My dad's like, Michael, that's not funny. I said...
I didn't do it.
I didn't do it. And my one friend, who's never a comedian, he said, no, he didn't do that. It does this every week.
Every week. Oh.
Every week. But I didn't have any money. I couldn't fix it. So we kept driving, and I could see the taillights of whoever was in front of me. So I knew where the road was. I just couldn't see the road. So that's why I say the bomber doesn't count.
This is hilarious.
So the Blue Front Rocket, John pulls me aside one night.
Yeah.
I run my heat race, and he's like, come here a minute. He said, sit down with me. And he says, I need you to go out for the feature and drive that car on the right front. I've heard people say that, right?
Right.
I said, okay. I'll do that. And I said, what's that mean? I said, I have no idea what you're telling me to do.
I'll do that. Tell me what it is.
Tell me what to do.
Yeah.
He said, what do you mean you don't? I said, I don't know what that means. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And he told me about the feel, and, and I went out and I did everything I could to drive like how he told me to. Well, apparently I did it right, because when I came in, he was excited. And John's not real excited.
Yeah, he doesn't show a lot of emotions.
Yeah, he was pretty excited.
Yeah.
He said, I actually told you to do something and you did it. And I said, well, yeah, it's the idea, right?
How else am I going to?
He started helping me.
Okay.
And I got better. I mean, I almost became a race car driver that season, right? Well, I wrecked that car. I actually had a ball joint. I don't know who installed those ball joints, but I had a ball joint break. I had a lower ball joint break.
Really?
And I was going down the backstretch at Moeller, so my car actually leaned into the wall.
Yeah.
I was running right up against it anyway. I had Jackie Boggs right behind me. I wasn't going to let him pass me. Well, when I got to the opening in the wall, the car made a right, and I hit the end of the wall where we used to exit the track.
This is the old opening.
The old opening.
The old opening, closer to turn 3, so you had a little more speed at that point.
Was rolling. And I had never let off because I was convinced that all I needed to do was when I got past the end of the wall, get the car to turn.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had a broken car there.
Wasn't going to turn when you got there.
Yeah. So, yeah, we demolished that car.
Okay.
Tom Collini bought that one off of me and revived it.
Really?
Yeah, he clipped it. And so.
I think I vaguely remember, I didn't know he bought it from you, but I remember him getting a car and clipping it and all that stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Tom's a good guy. I love Tom.
Yeah.
We blew a motor up. I didn't blow a motor up, but we had a valve that was way out of adjustment.
Okay.
He called me, said, hey, I heard you need a motor. I said, there's 3 races left. I'm done for the year. He said, come get mine. Come use it. And he was serious. I went and got his motor and I raced.
Really?
It was awesome.
That's nice.
Yeah. Probably the best run I ever had at Brownstown because it was pure black slick.
Right.
And that motor was so drivable. I drove right up through the pack. It was pretty
nice.
Cool. Yeah.
So you mentioned Moeller a few times there.
Yep.
So is that primarily where you've got most of your laps in?
Yeah. So you know what's funny? My first year, I started at Moeller. Moeller's a half hour from here.
Half hour.
Started at Moeller. Said, no way, I'm not going to Moeller. Every time I went there, I got tore up. It had nothing to do with the fact that I couldn't drive and I was in the back of the pack.
It wasn't the track's fault.
Track's fault, 100%. So I said, let's start going to Portsmouth.
Oh, okay. Let's drive 2 hours?
Yeah. Actually, it's only an hour and a half.
Oh, okay. Hour and a half. My bad.
That first car was a steel block. Mm-hmm. So I said, we'll go run that steel block class at Portsmouth. Bought some tires, went out there and raced. I wasn't very good there either. But the car got tore up a couple times. I said, well, maybe it wasn't Moeller's fault. Maybe we're going to drive a half hour now.
Let's drive less to tear stuff up.
Yeah. So we went back to Moeller.
Okay.
I like Moeller. Moeller is a fun, racy track.
Yeah, I've always described it as, man, I've heard other people say it too, so it's not just me, but man, when that track is right, I think it's as good as any track in the country. Yeah. The track.
Yeah.
I mean, it has its nice where it's not always, I guess, cooperative or Mother Nature does what she wants to do during the week. But, man, if you get that track on a good night and the track part's right, man, it puts on a good show, especially when you got not great, but when you got a good regional group of guys there, man, they put on a show. You know, your Jameson, your Sheets and Rices and
Hildebrands.
The list goes, but I mean, man, that place puts on a good show.
It does. You know, if you look at the National Weather Advisory or whatever it is, for the last 7 years that I've raced, there's been more rain in Williamsburg, Ohio from Thursday to Saturday than anywhere else in the country.
Guarantee it.
Every week it rains.
Guarantee it. Yeah. Well, it seems like right now it's not just Williamsburg. It's like everywhere in the country right now is getting more rain or cold weather than we should. This is not a good year to start early.
No, we're supposed to be at Brownstown right now.
Yes. I'm supposed to be in Georgia right now.
Yeah?
We'll talk about that later. Here I am.
Yeah. So it's fun stuff.
So that leads to my next question would be, you are probably pretty regular at Moeller. Mm-hmm. Do you consider yourself more of a regular to Moeller weekly driver, or you hit Portsmouth and Brownstown? You think you consider yourself more now a regional guy?
No way. I'm a local guy.
Okay. Local guy that just likes to spread his wings every now and then.
Yeah. The regional guys are the fast guys.
Okay.
Right.
But do you have to be fast to be a regional guy? I mean, if you're traveling from Portsmouth to Brownstown, man, that's a region. That's a span.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think if you say regional guy, you're talking about a Steve Casebolt, a
Chamberlain,
Rice's. Carpenter, Rice.
Yeah.
Josh Rice is above a regional guy. Josh is an anomaly, right?
Okay, James Rice.
James.
He's right there. He's right there.
Could you put those two together?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But Josh is I think above all of us around here. Every time I see him, I pray for flat tires. So
give everybody else a chance.
It's funny.
Nothing against Josh, but you want everybody else to have a chance.
I raced against him one night at Brownstown, and he happened to go off in 3 and 4, and I won the heat race.
Yeah.
And everybody was so excited. You beat Josh Rice. I said, I did not beat Josh Rice.
Hold on, let me clear this up. Yeah.
And there's two ways to look at it. They said, well, you were in the right spot at the right time. I said, I'll take that. I said, but I did not.
I didn't beat him. Right.
Pass him and beat him. He's fast. James is equally as fast. James has got a little bit of the same issue as me, and I can't speak for him. I don't know him well enough. But 2 kids at home, a wife at home, building a house.
Yeah.
Me and John Whitney have had this conversation many times. Unfortunately for this race car here, which is I think a pretty good race car, it's like number 8 or 9 on my priority list.
Right. It's on the fun level.
It's on the fun level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I really feel like that's where they all should be, because I think a lot of people get way too serious. I mean, I get it. I guess the more money you throw at things, the more serious you want to be about it, but you lose the fun.
It's not true. This thing was expensive, and it hasn't changed a thing for me.
Okay, for everybody else, I feel like it gets that way.
Our bolt check hasn't even gotten any better.
What's a bolt check? How much does that cost?
A bolt check for us is when something falls off, we bolt it back on.
Oh, we check it then.
Yeah. We've gotten better. Again, my son, my crew chief.
Yeah.
A funny story about him. I talked about Dale McDowell.
Yeah.
He said, who are you bringing? I said, it'd be me and my crew chief. Well, that was 8 years ago.
How old was he then?
10.
And Dale's like...
Yeah. So getting to the shop where Dale had us meet, you had to kind of pull off the side street and back it all the way in. So he watched for me. So he was the first person Dale saw.
Okay.
And I got out, and I noticed I got the old kind of look around. Dale was like,
who else? Where's the other guy?
He was waiting for my crew chief. And I said, hey, meet my crew chief, Alex. And it's funny because the day started out, they didn't give him a second glance.
Right.
Then we go to the track. Well, we pitted out in the pits. But
which track was this at?
It was at Boyd's.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Cool track.
Yeah, that's where I was supposed to be, by the way.
Were you? Yeah, that's right. That was this weekend, Smoky Mountain Boyd's, right?
Yeah.
So we were all pitted out in the pits, but everybody stayed in the infield. And there were 2 or 3 of us there that he was helping. Well, as the day went on, they needed jets, they needed tires, they needed springs. And the gopher was my crew chief, my 10-year-old, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't have, I don't think we had a quad yet, so he ran back and forth.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we started we probably got to the track at noon. By about 2, I got a comment, he's pretty good help, isn't he?
Yeah.
By 4.
That's the reason he's my crew chief.
Right. Well, by 4, it was, man, that kid, he's not afraid to work, is he?
No.
By 6, they said, he's unbelievable. We all need one of him. It's amazing how the progression went.
Yeah. Had to earn that and show that. Yeah.
I don't think their opinion of me went up as the day went on, but their opinion of him went up as the day went on.
Totally get it.
Yeah. So, but anyway, he has told me to get better at maintenance. We've never been bad at maintenance, right?
Okay.
We maintenance the car, but
Yeah,
the
yeah,
bolt
yeah.
check, you know, on a regular week, if we race Friday and Saturday,
Yeah.
the job I work
Sure.
a lot. There's weeks we just don't have time, right?
Yes.
Now that he cuts tires, he cuts all my tires.
Oh, okay.
When I had to cut tires, there were weeks that's all I had time to do.
Right.
So we've gotten better, but I think if you put us all in the same room as the guys I race against, I'd be at the bottom of the barrel. So.
Huh. But you're having fun.
Having fun.
Man, that's got to be. I can't express, or I can't say enough about how important that part is, because again, I feel like so many people lose it. I'm not saying you guys do, but I feel like so many people just lose the funness, or whether they move up a class and that was a mistake. They were having fun at their level, and then when they move up, it's like, oh, this is serious work now. Oh, yeah. And I've always said in all my episodes, just about every single one, we can't express how much time and labor and work goes into these things. And it's a full-time job, but people that are in it and passionate about it, they find the time to do it. Not everybody can do that. Some people have jobs that don't give you that time that you want to spend on it.
Right. But it's worth it. At the end of the day, I've made a lot of really good friends at the racetrack.
Yes.
Some of my best friends now are people I've met at the racetrack.
Yeah. Thanks, Ken.
Yeah. Thanks, Ken. We're not friends. I'm not friends with him.
An acquaintance?
Ken is a really good friend of mine, even though he ruined my life.
We're going to clear this up.
He's a really good friend of mine.
Yeah.
But, Blake Naylor, I would have never met him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I beat him up one night, and that's how we became friends.
Yeah, I get it. He came at me. He came at me one time, and I had to just squish that right then. Like, look, dude, I'm not going to make you look bad here. Let's not do it.
Yeah.
We come across people in this sport that become like family, or closer than friends. But yeah, I mean, I get it. I've been around the sport all my life, and nothing against my family. I love my family, but I mean, I do. I mean, I've got people I've really been friends with all my life.
Yeah.
Second set of parents because of racing, or maybe not just because of racing, but
part of it.
Yeah, we're in the racing community together. Sure.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So what is next for you? Obviously, we're waiting on weather, and we all want to go play at the track here soon.
Yeah.
What's next for you?
So I'd like to win a feature at some point.
Is that a on the list for this year? Hey, realistic. I get it. Everybody likes to have these lists, checklists. I want to do this. I want to do that. Yeah. But it's like, I don't know that everybody really looks at their list as realistically, here's where it needs to be. I was that guy when I raced. I set goals, realistic goals, not goals that I'm not going to obtain. Yes, I want to be in the hunt every week, but realistically, it was, let's make the feature. If we can make the feature, then we try to run top 10. That was realistic for me.
Yeah.
Other people was like, man, no, if we're not in contention to win, we don't need to be there. I'm like, well, I get that, but I'm setting my realistic goals here.
My goal has usually been to load the car up the way I brought it.
Mm-hmm. That's always a goal too.
Right. Most guys lose sight of that, right?
Sure. Whatever it takes to win. Whatever it takes, yeah.
John Mollick said to me a long time ago, to finish first, you must first finish. And you hear me talk about the schedule we keep, if I tear the car up every week, we won't make it every week. I just don't have time to rebuild it.
Sure.
But finding that happy medium, I've had a handful of guys this winter say that I need to become a little more aggressive as a driver.
Okay.
Not aggressive around other guys, but more aggressive the way I drive the car.
Driving it a little harder.
Move around the track more,
Okay.
I'm coming out of a Schwartz, I had a very short time with Jackie.
Schwartz by Boggs. Yeah.
Had a very short time with him, and that was a smart man.
Yeah.
Good guy.
You are not the first person to say, man, how much he helped their program.
Yeah.
Guys that were in Schwartz cars.
The best advice Jackie probably ever gave me, they did a race on a Monday night at Moeller, Brad did, and I had a really good car. Won my heat race, ran second most of the race, ended up finished fourth, I think. That part doesn't matter. But it was a good race for me, especially starting the season. Jackie was there that night, told me what to do to the cars the night went through. the following, it would have been that Saturday, I guess, I was headed to Atomic.
Okay.
And I called Jackie on the way there, and I had written down the changes he told me to make, but I didn't ask him. He was helping me and a couple other guys. Didn't have time to say why.
Maybe
am I
an Austin Mills, maybe Chris Shannon. Those guys were both big on Jackie too.
Yeah, not Vic Hill. Victor. Shoot. Drives a modified.
Oh, Victor Lee.
Victor Lee.
Yeah, good friend
of mine. He was helping him, and he's really good friends with Jackie, so he stayed by him more.
Yeah.
So I never got a chance to say, hey, why am I making this change?
Yeah.
So I'm driving to Atomic, and I said, hey, the changes I made at Moeller, will those work at Atomic? And he said, for the most part, yeah. And I said, should I make all the same changes? He's like, what changes did we make? I said, I'm not sure. I said, but you told me to make them. What did you tell me to make? He said, hell, I don't know. And I said, well, you're the car guy. Why don't you know? He said, because not a single change I told you to make meant a damn thing. He said, all I did was have you change a bunch of stuff so you thought you had a good car. And he said, guess what? You went out and you were fast. He said, so quit worrying about the car. Go drive the thing.
Yeah.
And my dad was sitting in the passenger seat. He's in the back. I said, I don't know how I should take that. I said, I'll try it. Well, I didn't change the car and I wasn't any good, right?
Okay. But if you change things and you think you're changing things for the better.
The mental part of it helps.
Okay.
I will say that is 100% wrong.
It doesn't always work.
No. I still, to this day, I've been racing these for a minute now, and the changes that you make to make these cars work still go against what I've known my whole life on physics and why cars do what they do. So I will still make the wrong changes. I won my heat race, I think, the last night at Moeller, and I was fourth in the feature because I missed.
Yeah.
I fought the car the whole feature.
People don't realize how easy or how quick you can make changes to make it better, but you're actually going the opposite direction.
Agreed.
If you don't know which way you're going, maybe you shouldn't change anything.
Agreed. Ethan Burgess.
Yeah.
I've brought Ethan to the race a couple of times, and boy, oh boy, am I a better race car driver when he's around.
Yeah.
Because he's good at making the car go fast.
He's a smart young guy.
He's very smart.
Yeah.
And the thing I like about Ethan, do this. Okay, why?
And explain to you why you're doing this. Yeah.
Not because I told you so.
Right.
Because I know why you're supposed to change. He knows why he's having you make the change.
Right.
My brother was telling me that I should just hire Ethan full time and take him to the track. I said, that's a great idea. I said, who is going to pay for this?
Your brother.
Yeah.
It was his idea, right?
It was his idea. He said, well, just split your winnings half and half.
Okay.
And I said, you know what? I said, if I run third or fourth, I don't see Ethan wanting to do that. If I win, I don't really want to do it. So, we're kind of stuck.
I kind of don't go to the casino for this reason.
Right. So, Jackie taught me a lot in quit worrying so much about the car. Mm-hmm. Ethan's taught me a lot that you do have to make the right changes, right?
Right changes, so yes.
If we ever put the two together, darn it, we may actually have something.
You might win a few races.
That would
More
be
than
nice.
heat races.
That would be nice, yeah. So,
all right.
So
go ahead.
To answer your question, that is probably our big goal. The big goal is for me to learn to be a race car driver this year. I mean, I'm not saying I'm terrible, but I could do a lot of stuff.
I feel like, here's where I definitely feel like you are, and I think you're right on that edge, and a lot of people don't realize and I don't mean this in a bad way toward anybody, but there is guys who drive race cars, and there are race car drivers. There's a difference. Mm-hmm. I think you're one of those guys that are right on that edge of being a race car driver. Not just somebody who drives a race car. There's a lot of guys out there weekly, and again, I don't mean that in a bad way toward anybody, but you take a Dwayne Chamberlain. Dwayne Chamberlain is a race car driver. Mm-hmm. Steve Case-Bolt, these guys are race car drivers. I feel like you are one of those guys that are just right at that edge of that weekly guy that, man, with the right knowledge, the right experience, you're a race car driver.
And the focus.
That's right where you are. Yeah.
Yeah, if we had the focus, it would be great.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about Mike outside of the race car.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm way better at selling houses than I am driving
That's
a race car.
That's what I hear. Tell me about this.
I didn't make that up. Somebody told me that once.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know how. I see. How do you take that? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I guess it's a good thing.
I looked at the positive side.
You make more money selling houses than you driving a race car.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I said, thank you, asshole.
Right?
There was a good and a bad.
With it.
Thank you for the positive, but asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Real estate is our thing.
Mm-hmm. That's what pays the bills.
It's what pays the bills, but we love it.
Yeah.
You know, I love the aspect of actually helping people. I work in a business that, God, to say this without saying anything bad about anybody, there are a lot of folks that work in the industry that I do that are purely paycheck people, right?
As long as they're making their bucks. Yeah.
Right. You know, we were raised different than that. This goes back to my dad. You know, my dad taught us at an early age to treat the janitor the same as the CEO.
Sure.
People are people.
People are people.
And it goes to the racetrack. If you look, I don't think everybody's like this. I talk to the compact guys. I talk to the legend guys. I talk to legend guys more now because we've got a couple of them. But I mean, that aside, I didn't
I have
care.
heard that you are hard to get along with at the racetrack. There's so many people you just...
That's what they say. That's what they say.
I've heard that. I'm not saying it's true, but I've heard that.
But I don't care who they are, right? I want to hang out with them. I want to be friends with everybody.
Right.
But when that comes to real estate, actually helping people out, it's a profound idea, right? That you actually give a crap about the people you're helping.
Sure.
And because of the way we were raised, and because of that, I think it's made us pretty good at what we do.
Yeah.
My brother's a superstar at what he does, and he's let me tag along for a lot of years. So I guess
it's
nice. Okay.
So it's working.
Thanks, boss.
I work for a local plumbing company. Joe Lanson's Plumbing, great sponsor. I mean, they have race cars. I mean, it's great people to work with. And, you know, I never thought of, and I never expected I'm going to grow up and be a plumber someday. But you know what? If it's a service call or new construction or whatever, especially service call, for example, I love changing and doing a water heater. People are like, it's a water heater. Yeah, but not everybody can do it. You know how much your water heater means to people? You have hot water, you know, it's like, you know, and then when you get the people that want to, I have no problem somebody wanting to watch and me explain to them why I'm doing what I'm doing. And not only do I just throw a water heater in the house, I want it to look good. You know, I put it in like as if I was putting it in my house, and it's like I kind of care about it a little bit. And I'll explain to you, well, here's why I'm doing this. If this ever has to be changed or done differently the next time, it's going to make somebody's life a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
People appreciate that.
Jesse might want to hire me after he hears this.
Let's hear it.
Rental of mine in Westchester. Alex had a baseball game at, I believe, 1 o'clock in Mason.
Okay.
At 9:30 in the morning, my tenant texts me and says, I've got no hot water and there's water in the basement. So I throw a toolbox and a dolly in the truck. He puts his uniform on. I think I was still coaching his team at the time, so I put my little coach's shirt on. We run over there. So we get over there at 10:15.
Yep.
And he's got to be at the field at 12:15.
Okay.
Is that right? 2 hours? Yeah. Walk downstairs, sure enough, bottom of the tank's leaking. So I shut the water off. I'd taken a hose, stick it in the drain, let it drain.
Yeah.
Run across the street. The problem is I got to get some food in the kid. He's going to play baseball this afternoon.
Got to have Petro.
Yeah, so while it's draining, we run across the street to Home Depot, pick up a water heater, go to Skyline, get him some cheese conies, come back, the water heater's drained.
You said Skyline. I'm in.
Yeah. Unboxed it, went down, cut the lines, got the wire out. I'm coming, and I took the dolly down with me. I'm coming up with the water heater. He's got the other one unboxed, got the nipples in the top.
Yeah.
Take it down. I cheated. I bought the Shark Bite flex line.
Right.
I didn't have time to do anything else.
Sometimes you got to do what works.
Well, I didn't take my torch with me, so I couldn't have sweat anything in anyway. Plug it in, wire it in. The problem with Shark Bite flex lines is they're not rigid, so the one line's hanging. So I took her cable wire and tied it up, pulled it up tight, put electric to it, filled it up, flipped the breaker on, heard it, off to baseball. We were at baseball at 12:10.
You made it.
I did a water heater in a little over an hour.
That's awesome. We probably have guys right now that can't do that.
It was, and I didn't hack anything. The flex lines. I did go back that week and put hangers on the lines, and I pulled her cable wire back off. And I didn't put a TMP. I didn't put a discharge pipe when I did it. I put that on, but still.
You got what had to be done.
Yeah, Jesse, I'm ready to come to work. You pay me what I make now. I'm your man.
I will. I'll put in a good word for you.
I appreciate that. I don't want to clean drains. I've done that.
No, I don't either.
No. I worked for a plumber when I was in college.
Okay. Where'd you go to college?
I went to UC.
Okay.
I dropped out, college dropout. I was in engineering. Mom liked to kill me, but Kevin got into real estate.
Yeah.
And I was taking a hybrid type college. I was a electrical engineering major. I minored in business because they had a real estate part. And then at a family reunion, I had a bunch of family in Cincinnati Police Department.
Okay.
So I started taking criminal justice classes too.
Very good.
Which were really easy. It really raised my GPA. It was
really?
cool. Yeah.
Okay.
But because of that, my criminal justice stuff worked as electives for engineering.
Uh-huh.
So I came to a quarter, and I was on student loans.
Yeah.
I came to a quarter where I didn't have enough core classes, so I needed to take a quarter off.
Right.
Kevin said, come to work with me. Let's do this real estate thing, and I never went back.
Never went back.
So
I know a guy, I think you know him too, and I don't know how you're smart enough to, we talked about the know what you don't know. He knew he didn't need to go to college for the certificate. He just knew there were certain classes he needed to know what he didn't know. But the guy is one of the most successful businessmen that I've ever met, Paul Spires.
yeah.
He told me
a lot about Paul.
Yeah, he's like, I just took these classes because they taught me what I needed to know.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know how somebody is smart enough to know what you don't know, but he knew what he needed to know.
That's why he's so successful.
That's exactly why that guy's so successful.
That's why me and you are sitting in a barn in front of a stupid race car, and he's out.
Right. Yeah, that's good job, Paul.
Yeah, good job, Paul. Never met you, but I've heard enough about him.
Oh, you never met Paul?
I've never met Paul.
I actually worked for Paul for a little bit.
I believe didn't John Whitney drive for him?
Yes, I would have to say yes at some point, yeah. Paul and Barry Doss were actually partnered up for a little bit, and they did, it was a Rayburn knockoff. I think they were called Cheetah race cars. Okay. When you said yours was a Rayburn knockoff, that was the second one that popped in my mind. There was another one, Rayburn Direct. It was from Warrior Race Cars down in Knoxville, Tennessee. They had a jig building Rayburn cars. Said Rayburn Direct, but I guess it was technically an indirect Rayburn. I never made the sense or whatever. But so Paul and Barry Doss was building cars, and Barry's very talented, and man, he's got a shop that they were building the bumpers and the spindles and just any of the bolt-on stuff that you need. Man, they had it right there in Sardinia, and Paul had a place down in actually Milford, Speed Weasels. So all your parts and anything that was bolt on to a race car, you could get right there. I mean, this guy, he would buy sheet metal and just keep it in stock, what color you need and how much you need it. Paul was great about helping the racers. He was in position that he could, and he did, and it was just he helped a lot of people too. So I worked for him for maybe like a whole year, but I mean, it started out as, hey, I need somebody to help my maintenance program and help me this and that. And he said, and if you don't mind cutting grass and washing cars and just anything else I need, he said, it could be a full-time job. I'm like, let's do it. So we did that. And then he did the road course racing too. You were talking about doing the Corvettes. Yeah. Paul had a Porsche. Man, this thing was nice. And he gradually got up to the car that he had there. And it was all carbon fiber body and raced at Putnamville, Mid-Ohio and stuff. And he said just the maintenance on these things is hardly next to nothing.
Not compared to these.
It was nowhere near this. I mean, I had a full-time job just washing and taking it apart. And every week, the trailer, and this is not a bad thing, the trailer needed to look like it was brand new again. I mean, so there was cleaning the inside of the trailer, top to bottom, and everything that come out. And you know how much dirt accumulates in a trailer. I mean, I'm not saying these were unrealistic goals at all, but Paul was that picky. And nothing against that. That's an awesome program to have if you can.
Not on our goal list.
Not on the goal list.
The trailer gets cleaned once a year.
Before season? Not at the end of the season, probably before.
Somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between,
it just depends on when it's warm enough.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm a little glad that Paul's not in the business anymore, because if he were,
you'd be buying more stuff from him.
That, and I wouldn't be such good friends with Gene and Jenny Weber.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So she's a lifesaver for me. So I'm lucky Paul's not around, because I wouldn't have met her then. Yeah,
the Weber's there, Weber Racing Supply, man. They help a lot of people as well, and I mean, I've got nothing but great things to say about both of them as well too.
Poor Jenny, as a racer, you can go on the internet and you can find parts that you need.
Yep.
But a guy like me who doesn't have the background, I don't have the family in it, there are things, again, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So all I have to do is tell Jenny what I'm looking for, what it's, I don't even have to give her much.
Yeah.
Hey, I need this bolt.
Yeah.
And she'll find it.
Yep, I'm on it.
She does all the work. And heaven forbid, I've had a couple parts problems over the years.
Yeah.
She is on the phone with the manufacturer. I mean, she does all the work. And I don't know how she does it because I know she does it for everybody.
You're not the only one.
No.
You think you feel special. I mean,
feels like you're the only one.
Yeah.
Right? But no, she's amazing.
Yeah.
So thank God for Jenny.
Right?
Yeah.
So we talked about that. So we're close to wrapping things up. Cool. Who do you need to thank other than Ken?
I'm not thanking Ken.
We'll thank him in a different way.
If it weren't for Ken right now, it's 3 o'clock on a Saturday. I'd probably be out selling a house right now if it weren't for him.
Yeah.
No,
thanks, Ken.
My number one I got to thank is my son. He's unbelievable. Anybody that does not know my son Alex is missing out. Mm-hmm. You know, and the funny thing is most people don't because he's reserved, he's quiet.
Yeah.
You know, at our age, reserved and quiet, you come across as arrogant. You know,
or you're an asshole. You don't want to talk to people. Yeah. What's wrong with you?
Nobody would ever call him that, even as reserved and quiet, because you can tell just the way he carries himself. So he's my number one. I don't need to thank Blake Naylor. He don't do nothing for me. My two Johns, John Whitney and John Mollick, are spectacular.
Yeah.
You know, John Mollick. I hope I got a minute.
Take as much time as you need.
When I bought the race car from him, now John's from Toronto, Ohio. Never met him in my life, right?
Yep.
And he's got this black front rocket advertised. Well, I had sold a 55 Chevrolet pickup for my dad. That was a project that was halfway done.
Yep.
And I took in a 73 Harley on trade.
Ooh.
I've never owned a motorcycle. Dirt bikes I race, but street bike. Never owned a street bike.
Okay.
No interest in it. I'm just going to resell it. But it's got to be easier to sell than a half-finished 55 truck.
Yeah, okay.
Sell off an old enclosed trailer. I took in a 06 883 Harley. I didn't know an 883 is a girl's bike. I had no idea.
Right. A little sporty.
Yeah. So when I'm buying this car from John Mollick, I said, I need you to take these two Harleys at Untrade. He said, I have no interest in those. I'm not a Harley guy. And I said,
but you could sell them.
But I still need you to take them in on trade. We got to work this out. And he and I talked for probably 2 weeks.
Really?
And he ended up taking them in on trade.
Nice.
And again, here's another plug for my son. We get up there, and I can't get the 73 to start.
Uh-huh.
And he says, I'm not taking a bike in on trade that won't run. I said, I'm telling you, it runs fine. And it had like 3 shutoff switches. I have no idea. It's a 1973, right?
Yeah.
Alex walks over. He's like, Dad, does that switch need to be on? I flip that switch on, it fires right up. Right up. So he saved me. But John calls me like 2 weeks later, and he says, hey, what do you do for a living? I said, I sell houses for a living. He said, I should have known. I said, what's that supposed to mean? He said, I have no idea how you suckered me into taking two motorcycles that I did not want. But we became probably lifelong friends.
Yeah.
You know, and he owes me nothing, right? We're just buddies.
Yeah.
And he constantly finds me information, and he questions me on the things I want to do.
Right.
And he makes me think through things, right?
Okay.
So between John Mollick and John Whitney's he's the smartest guy I know about race cars.
That guy's pretty talented.
Yeah.
In just about every way, shape, or form, that guy's pretty talented.
If I had any sense, I would be a car owner and John Whitney would drive my car.
Okay.
The problem is I like the thrill of it. I'm hoping to learn someday how to do it. You know, those are my big ones. The sponsor-wise, I've got really good sponsors. I got guys that help me out. They stick with me from year to year.
Right.
You know, to call each one out, they know who they are. They're pretty awesome. I've plugged my business, EXP. You know, EXP as a company doesn't give me anything. We should fix that. So EXP.
We should.
Yeah, I need money. In the meantime,
we all need money.
Yeah, I'll keep selling houses. I feel like I'm forgetting people. There's a lot of people that have helped me along the way. You know, some people helped me they didn't know.
Yeah.
Guys that gave me bad information, they taught me what not to do.
What not to do, or what not to listen to.
Yeah. So there's a lot of guys. And there's guys along the way, you know, that like Cody and Marlon Evans. I had a fitting brake one night. I didn't have one. And I was pitted next to him, and I walked over. I said, you guys got one of these? And they looked through all the drawers, didn't have one. Well, Marlon set off and walked through the pits and found me one.
Really?
He didn't need to do that. I didn't know him real well at the time.
Right.
Gary Engel, same way. I had a night, my second year, I don't remember what was wrong with my carburetor. That thing would not run. And he comes walking over, never said a word to the man. He walks over with a carburetor box. He said, here, put this on your car and bring it to me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
people like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Brian. He owned the car dealerships out in Seymour, Indiana. His son raced. Hasn't been around for a while. Alex, what was his name?
I'm drawing a blank now too. I'm like, that sounds so familiar.
It's funny. One of the funniest stories for him, Brian. One of the coolest people, and his son. They were trying to get Hudson O'Neill to drive for them.
Okay.
What, 7 years ago?
Right.
Before Huddy really got big.
Right.
And I saw Brian at the PRI show. And now this is a guy, he owned car dealerships. He's a pretty wealthy guy, right?
Okay.
I said dealerships,
Yeah.
plural.
More than one dealership. Got it.
And I pulled him aside. I said, let me talk to you about finances.
Right.
And about ways to make your business grow. He said, I'm all ears. And I said, you don't need to spend your money on some young kid who's up and coming to race. I said, you could have a real estate agent in his 40s drive a race car for you. Just think of the money you'll save.
Right.
He laughed, and he didn't hire me. I don't know
He
why.
didn't hire you.
No.
It wasn't a good enough sales pitch?
No. God, Brian, Adam was, I feel terrible. I can't think of his
Yeah.
name.
It's going to pop. As soon as we turn the cameras off, it's good.
Yeah.
I'll put it in then.
There you go. Yeah, thanks to Brian.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Yeah. So what else?
Man, I don't know. I'm pretty good. I'm covered. I mean, I feel like we got to know the arrogant guy that everybody seems to tell me about. I feel like we've got to know him a little bit better here.
I don't think I can play up to that one.
No. I mean, you couldn't put the costume on if it was in a bag and say, "Here, we need you to be this guy."
Not gonna. If I had to get rid of this thing just to be friends with everybody, the race car would probably be gone. I'd rather.
Gone. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the odd guy, and you can ask guys this just for giggles. If I rub somebody,
Yeah.
I walk over to the race. Man, I didn't mean to do that, and guys have always been like, "You didn't need to come over." I said, "I know. I just
Yeah.
wasn't my intention." You
Yeah.
know, there have been stuff that's happened over the years wreck-wise, and I don't.
So
ever
you
wanna-
don't have this bad name that everybody's telling me about.
No. Oh my God!
I'm
There have
totally
been some
kidding about
jokes
this,
over
yeah.
the years, though, that have Chris Vance. You know Chris?
Yeah.
He started a. Oh my God! I don't even want to talk about it. He started a nickname for me, and it was all a joke, but it was terrible timing because I got together with somebody else at the time, and it was an absolute accident. None of us meant for it to happen, but the other guy got the worst end of the deal, and Vance started calling me "slide job denied." And I said, "Stop calling me that." I said, "Because if it gets into the ears of the people that don't want to hear it,
Right.
I'm the bad guy." And
Yeah.
and even that night, I walked over and told the guy, I said, "Man, I did not mean for that to happen. I don't want to tear anybody else's race car up. I sure don't want to tear mine up."
Right.
You know? But yeah.
This stuff's expensive, and ain't nobody got extra time to fix the stuff that you don't have to.
No, and nobody wants to, especially if somebody else wrecks you.
Right.
You have no urge to fix the car. So
I get it.
it happens. It's we're out there racing. It happens, but we sure don't mean for it to happen.
Yep. So we're gonna catch you mostly at Moeller this year.
Moeller's not running us much this year.
Oh, that's right.
7 or 8
They've
races.
kind of cut back on their super schedule.
I'll be at Moeller a lot though, but it'll be in the little car.
The little car.
Yeah.
So you guys got a couple little cars. You and your son both going to hit some legend stuff. Now, are those on weekly?
They are weekly at Moeller.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll load those up. I'm more worried about Alex doing well at that than me. But I will 100% wreck him if it comes down to it in the feature.
I don't think it's going to be possible for me to be there, but man, just make sure this is on video. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, so my number one track this year will probably be Brownstown.
Okay.
We ran Brownstown just once or twice last year, and every week when you show up to that track, it's prepped well. They run a good show. We leave there.
It's a decent facility.
It is. And
really.
It's the farthest that I go. But
Yeah, I guess it is.
I think we leave there at 9 o'clock every night.
Yeah.
So I'm still back as early as I am anywhere else I race.
Right.
I love Portsmouth. Portsmouth is cool because it's a whole different group of guys. Very rarely do I run into the same guys I do here.
Right.
And great people down there, and the staff at that track. They make you feel like you're welcome.
Yeah.
We're playing to hit Atomic. What am I leaving out? We're gonna run to Mudlick. Mudlick changed their track.
Yeah.
So I really want to get down there and try that out.
Very good.
So.
And if somebody needs to buy or sell a house, let's hit that one more time. How do they do that?
Yeah.
How do they get a hold of
me.
you?
just look me up.
That guy right there.
Yeah, got the sign right here. Don't call that number. That goes to my brother.
Oh, okay.
Call my number. Am I allowed to say my number on the video?
Yeah. It's your number. If you want everybody to have it, by all means.
You guys can find me. Look me up. We're easy to find. We'd love to help. I got a wonderful crew. You know, race car, my crew is the most important thing. So is it in real estate.
Right.
You know,
you got to have a good team.
Yeah. And without the team that I have, I've got a support staff there. You know, I've always joked, but I think they can make it without us. I don't know if we can make it without them.
Right.
I think Kevin
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
I think Kevin could probably make it without me. Not 100% sure I would stay in this business without him. So. But again, he goes in the Ken Martin category, because if it weren't for my brother, I'd have probably gotten a degree in real estate, and I'd probably be making all this money with a suit on. And
right. And you wouldn't be sitting here next to a spool with some nobody.
I didn't ever met Ken Martin. I wouldn't even have a race car. Who knows?
You said it, not me. Hey.
No looking back.
No looking back.
Awesome crew at the real estate thing, and we love what we do.
Good.
So,
good.
You need to sell a house. You need to buy a house.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll take care of you.
All right. We're going to wrap things up. Checker flag on this session. Slingin Dirt Media here with Mike Hildebrand. Hope you guys have liked and enjoyed this episode. We're a little past the Dirty 30 mark, but hey, I don't know why you were so shy about wanting to do this. And I mean, you haven't. Sorry. You just went on and on. It's great stuff.
2 more hours?
Yeah. Sure. Off camera.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share to all your friends, and we'll see you at the track next week. Thanks.